They say every man has a breaking point, a moment when something inside him quietly snaps. For me, that moment arrived on an ordinary Thursday night. Calm, uneventful, the kind of evening where you expect peace, not confrontation. Alyssa, my wife, was standing by the kitchen counter, scrolling through her phone with that sly smirk she wore whenever she wanted to get under my skin. We hadn't argued that day, not really. We'd just been drifting. Her warmth had cooled over time, replaced by subtle jabs, sharp sarcasm, and eye rolls that cut deeper than shouting ever could. Then, without warning, she looked up at me and said, half laughing, "You better start behaving, or my lips might find someone else." It came out like poison dresses humor. She chuckled after saying it. But behind that laugh was a challenge, a test. She wanted to see how far she could go, how much I'd tolerate before I finally broke. I didn't laugh. I just stood there, frozen. And for the first time, she realized I wasn't playing along. The smirk slowly faded from her face. I could hear my own heartbeat pounding in my ears, not out of anger, but from a heavy, final calm. I took a slow breath, stepped closer, and said quietly, "If that's how you feel, then you can leave." Her eyes widened, the confidence she'd worn like armor cracking right in front of me. "Wait, what?" she stammered. But I didn't repeat myself. My silence said enough, louder than any shouting ever could. For a moment, she just stood there, speechless, as if the script she'd written in her head had suddenly fallen apart. She hadn't expected me to call her bluff. Women like Alyssa rarely do. They grow so comfortable with your patience, your forgiveness, your quiet endurance. They forget silence could be final, too. Her shock turned to anger. "You're seriously throwing me out over a joke?" she snapped, her voice trembling between disbelief and fear. But I didn't bite. I'd spent years reacting, explaining, defending, begging for peace. Not this time. "It wasn't a joke," I said evenly. "You meant what you said, and I mean what I said." She stared at me like I'd become a stranger. Maybe I had. The man who once begged for her attention was gone. The man standing there wasn't afraid to be alone anymore. She began pacing, muttering that I'd regret this, that I was destroying our marriage. But her words no longer hit, because deep down, I finally understood I hadn't destroyed anything. She had. The day she decided disrespect was entertainment and love became a weapon. She grabbed her bag, waiting for me to stop her. I didn't move, not out of pride, but peace. For the first time, I'd stopped mistaking tolerance for love. When the door shut behind her, I didn't feel rage. I felt relief, heavy, quiet, liberating relief. That first night alone was painfully still. The kind of silence that feels raw at first, then slowly starts to heal you. I sat on the couch, staring at the empty space where her shoes used to be. Funny how you can live beside someone for years and still feel like you never really knew them. She texted that night, then again the next morning, then again after that. At first, the messages were full of anger, blame, mockery, denial. But as the hours passed and I didn't reply, her tone shifted. The panic seeped through. "Can we talk?" Turned into, "Please, I didn't mean it like that." And finally, I made a mistake. But I didn't need her apology. I needed my peace back, and that's exactly what I found. Love doesn't always end in chaos. Sometimes it ends in quiet realization, when you finally see that disrespect kills you slower and deeper than loneliness ever could. I wasn't heartless. I remembered the good times, the laughter, the dreams we once shared. But I also remember her face that night, the way she looked at me, daring me to prove I still had a backbone. So I did. Weeks went by. The text stopped. The silence settled, not cold this time, but calm, familiar. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel small or unwanted or unsure. I felt free, because sometimes the most powerful thing a man can say is nothing at all.